Hello, this is Markus.
This is Ville. We're from Insomnium and you're watching Chaoszine.
Hello everyone, this is David from Chaoszine. I have the pleasure today to be with Ville and Markus from Insomnium at Tavastia before the second actually release show that they are performing here in Helsinki after the release of their latest album, Anno 1696. How are you doing, guys?
Okay, a little bit tired after the first round of release gig. I don't know what happened. Maybe the moshing took all the energy from us, but all good.
Yeah, all good. Bit tired.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting thing that you got to do these two release gigs. I understood that it was mostly because of the availability of venues and, and they were both sold out, so there was a lot of expectations. How did the first one go, compared to the rehearsals and how, is there something that you could feel that could improve for this second one, or how did it feel?
Well, I had some technical problems with guitar and then our guitar amplifier and MIDI cables and stuff, but luckily we had a technician, stagehand and a guitar tech who solved the problems. But I guess it's hard to compare rehearsals and gigs. It's a whole different ball game. But I think it went pretty well, and it was a good start. It's been a while. The guys played two shows in 70 tons of metal, but we haven't played as a 5-piece for quite a long time. So it's always a bit different, and requires a bit of practice.
And still, speaking about the technical issues, we had 3 guitarists, so we had one spare. One guitarist cannot drop out, and then still 2 left. So we managed, but it was really nice to play these new songs. Yeah. There was probably 2 songs that we didn't play on the 70,000 tons of metal, so it was amazing to test them on the audience, and the audience was really great and sold out Tavastia. That's a nice venue, nice atmosphere, hot. So looking forward today also.
Yes. Yeah, and actually I checked a little bit the set list of yesterday, and you include most of the new album, and yesterday was the release day, and if I compare it to, the previous one, Heart Like a Grave, I felt that it was a little bit harder because I got the promo a lot in advance, so it took me a few listens to get very acquainted with the songs. I think it's a bit harder to digest. How do you think that the audience is gonna assimilate all this information so quickly?
I don't know why we had a release gig on a release day. That was beyond our control. It's always some dates change and gigs are being booked 1 year in advance, so things happen. But many people had listened to the album, I noticed, on the new songs, and that was cool to see. And
then 3 songs out of the 5 we played yesterday, they were released as a videos or audio before, so people had some time to digest and listen to them, and then a couple of new ones as a surprise. So I think it was pretty good response to the new songs from the crowd as well.
So since you have the mic now, Ville, I wanted to ask, have you been spending the most of the pandemic in the UK, or how has it been for you this last few years?
Yes, I just moved back to Finland at the end of the last year. So I've been now living in Helsinki for 6 weeks. So before that, I was living in the UK for almost 13 years. And I was spending pandemic there, stranded in the Blake Island.
Yeah, and also as a scientist and an artist, I wanted to ask you, because before, during this last few years, there's been a lot of outrageous kind of statements by artists. I can understand the music and touring is their livelihood, but how did you feel about that? Were you paying attention? Were you doing a lot of facepalm or trying to avoid, or how did you deal with that?
Well, I mean, of course it's livelihood, and then I think now things look much better, and I think the kind of introduction of vaccines was a big breakthrough, so you can still get the COVID, but not as severe. So So I think we can kind of live with it now, most of us at least. So I mean, it was hard. Like, I think the Finnish government was pretty good, kind of giving out grants and supporting artists during this hard phase. But I think we're kind of still in that sort of recovery phase. Like, there's a lot of competition. Everybody wants to go on road now. So, but I think we have really nice tours and gigs booked. So it looks really good, I think, financially, and then yeah, things are getting more normal.
Yeah, we're leaving right after these shows. Like, next in line is the US tour, and that's the first US tour since the not so good 2020 US tour, which was called Philadelphia, one of so. And after that we were sent back to home, so we kind of got this start point of COVID really nicely in USA, but good memories came out of that. And weird things with like all the music system at the moment is like you're reading these news from like whatever UK visas and for touring bands, and now US government is planning to raise like artist visas to USA like 250%, and it's already like a world's most expensive work visa to go touring in US, and then they are thinking like we survived COVID, like now just let's raise all the fees for musicians, so nobody from outside America don't want to play anymore in US. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough situation. But coming back to the album, well, Niilo is not here, but he wrote the story, and you based the lyrics on that, and he took care of the lyrics. But then you did the music mostly. I checked the credits, and actually, and also because it's a concept album, there's a story behind it. But how do you? I think it was quite a big risk or a bold step to make a concept album in the days of Spotify, where some people don't listen to a whole album, let alone follow the story of the album. So did you feel that this was the right thing to do as a statement, or did you have any kind of second thoughts about it?
I wouldn't anymore call this album a risk in Spotify, because we already did the actual risk with the Winter's Gate, because 40-minute song during Spotify days, that was like working title commercial suicide that we used for Winter's Gate. So after that we kind of bought our artistic freedom, and this is still like an album full of songs, and the story is like related to it, but it's still like you can listen to this album as like a normal album with normal songs, and the story is just like following the music. And
and it's a concept album more like lyrically and the story wise, but then you have individual songs, you can split them and listen them individually.
Yeah, so. And I think, in my opinion, some of them worked better as just standalone songs. For example, the first single was Lillian, and you wrote it.
Yes.
So did you have this kind of the structure or the melody of the song ready before, or did you get inspired by the concept and the kind of, okay, this song is going to be about this, so it should sound like this?
I think it's probably like the melody is a bit older. I think it's like when pandemic hit. I can't even remember, but it was definitely in some form. Demo was there in some form with the melody before the story and the idea of that, I think.
Yeah. What about?
If I remember right.
Yeah. What about Markus? The rest of the material.
Well, it kind of went that way. Like we spoke 2020 early. Niilo said like he's having this kind of idea for a concept, and the story wasn't ready then, so. Kind of like we took inspiration from the like guidelines for the story, that which gonna be a theme of the album, and then started to compose music, and we were working simultaneously. Like I was doing the music and Niilo was writing the story, and then in the end we just put it all together and used some glue to make it all work, and hammer.
And nails.
And somehow it worked. So
there
was some black magics involved.
Yeah, but I think the timing is very good with this pandemic. But I don't know if with the ongoing stuff, but I don't know if you kind of also could relate more to the topic of of the novel by what we were experiencing in the present time, because you had this frustrating experience in USA and a lot of problems. So I don't know, was it a way to, because the topic is quite dark, so did it help to kind of canalize some of those, thoughts or feelings, or?
It would be romanticized to say like it was inspired by the COVID lockdowns, but I think Niilo had this team, that guy had this team already before the pandemic, so it's not pandemic inspired theme.
Yeah, but the music I meant, because you
the music, yeah. Of course, it helped. Like we had all the time in the world to use for writing music, and it was also a big savior on keeping our sanity together. Just sit at home and do music, and there was no rush. Usually, there's always a rush to do music because calendars are full with everything in life, and so that made miracles and good things for this album, that we had a lot of time to do, and we didn't actually even had that much of like a pressure from the label, like you have to do this album whenever. We even did this Argent Moon EP in the middle. That was like the first pandemic savior.
It was, I think it was like 2 years of writing, and then the end result is the Argent Moon EP, and then the album. And then some of the songs
and another EP.
And an album, another EP with the current release. And then I think like Markus had some of the demos, like the demo for the God Forsaken, that was already quite early on. That was the first demo, I think.
I think that was also before the pandemic.
That was before the pandemic. And then the Rapids was I think that was the newest song, or the latest song, that kind of came together, like maybe like
the thing that should not be, kind of.
Maybe a month before the event studio, and so it's gonna be a long period of time when the songwriting was done.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned this before, that now that you're here, Ville, and some of the gigs have been 4-piece band, and now there's release shows are the 5 of you. How does it look for the near future? Are you gonna be on, off, or?
Well, I think we haven't really discussed what to do yet.
Are you playing today?
I hope. Yes, I mean, like, we'll see. Like, I mean, like, logistically, getting 5 guys together is a bit harder, of course, and then of course it's easier. Like now, I can just take bus to Kotka, and then we can rehearse, and then we can do stuff, so it's easier to interact. So we'll see what happens. But like, because of my job, it's quite difficult to do the touring, even though I can kind of take time off, like just making sure that I can take the time off when the tours are happening. So it would be just, it's sometimes difficult to do this, but like maybe this sort of showed the few gigs in Finland as well, and this kind of stuff. We'll see.
Yeah. Anything to add?
That sort of sense, we are really Finnish bands, so we really don't speak that much about the future or plans. Or Insomnium might seem like they have a really big plan ahead, and all the things in the albums have been planned really well. That's not always the case.
Well,
things just happen.
Yeah, things happen, and I think it's like intuition as well. Like, it's sometimes difficult to plan out, and we're not. I was reading in newspaper 2 days ago about like Blind Channel, and then their kind of business plans and stuff like that, and then we're not like that. We're just too old school. We just like go with the intuition, go with the flow, and then let's see what happens. We're kind of trying to get better with planning of things, but it's challenging.
In Finland, we say this in Finnish: pitkä pääty ja perää.
Can you translate that for in the English speaking?
It's like ice hockey term. You just put the what is the disc?
Puck.
Yeah.
You just kick the puck and see how it goes to and where.
Yeah, I wanted to ask next about Johnny's contribution, because this is his third release, like 2 full albums and the EP, and I've noticed, going through the writing credits, he has gotten a few, and they tend to be more like mellow songs and clean singing. How does it work, when you're kind of is it something organic? Have you made some kind of arrangement? You know, you're gonna do the acoustic stuff, or
intuition, like we said.
Yeah.
Things just happen.
Yeah.
I think we with the Unrest is the name of the song. We just thought that was in fact Jani's first demo was like a metal song, but we just decided to cut the metal off and thought it's like a campfire acoustic song, kind of like interlude that the album is asking just before the aggressive ending with the rapids. So it's like a slow dive before the ending credits.
Yeah.
Last battle.
Yeah. I mean, like we don't have really like Jan is bringing stuff in. He's pretty good at kind of arranging songs and kind of has a say on lots of things and has a good eye and like, you know, did big job like recording and editing stuff, all the guitar tracks which we recorded last time. So he was playing a big part there, and I think he has kind of this sort of production view and then about singing and harmonies and then kind of through the work he's done with other bands. So
yeah, that Jani really started the competition inside the band, who is producing the best sounding demos, because he's kind of like a studio guy and I like challenges and competition. So I started to buy more studio stuff and to my home studio, and that was probably the lockdown periods. That's why this took kind of so long to write this album, because the demos took so long time to polish them, and there's good and bad in that, because at some point the demo started to sound that good that when the actual album was mixed and ready, then I'm just listening my own demos like, this was better on my demo than on the album, and it's called Too Much Time at Home.
Yeah. Sometimes it's kind of hard to separate those as well. Like you get so used to your own version, and then you go to the studio and it doesn't sound exactly the same. And it's not a bad thing, but then, you know, in your mind you always hear your own version, so it can kind of bother you sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. And I wanted to ask next to Markus, because you've said about this, you know, you've had a lot of time, but also you've been super active. You know, I can't believe that you release albums with Omnium, God the Room, and then I Am the Night. And how do you manage to create so much new music and arrange, rehearsals, touring? How does it all fit in your 24 hours?
And I even have a new band, and the album is ready, like the songs. So I don't know. This is what I do. This is what I love. This is what I do, and that's my work to do music. So somehow it happens, and somehow I find the time, and I don't know how it happens. When the COVID happened, and then had some time at home, then just taking it easy, and then just looking my schedules for past years, and I just looked at it, just insane amount of gigs, like 200 gigs per year, and then I was just like thinking also myself, like, how did I manage to do this, like 200 gigs per year for a few years and do albums and stuff, but if there's a will, there's a way, so they say.
Yeah, I mean, like Markus is a hardworking guy. It's just like, you know, if you do this as a profession, then you know, you wake up and then you start working, or you stay late and then you work on stuff. So nothing happens like through miracle. You have to put in the hours, and then he's talented and then he's hardworking. So that's how you make albums.
Yeah, but I get the feeling that I've talked to a few musicians that are kind of, because of the business model that we have nowadays for artists, that you're either in 5 bands or you have a day job, and you kind of, music is your kind of hobby with a little bit of an income. So because for you it is a little bit different than you have like a profession and studies, and, you know, like a steady job. So like I think it's pretty much the 2 options, you know, like I think only Iron Maiden and Metallica maybe can live from having only one band. Even many of those guys have side projects, so
there's a bit of sense of truth on that you are saying. But also, like, I just like to do stuff, and like I Am the Night kind of thing, that was my thing I have wanted to do like 20 years, and now I had time, and finally we did it, and another thing that is coming. It's another thing that I've been urged to do for years and years, and then I think it's only like good for the kind of your main jobs, main bands. Also, like you just don't put all the stuff for the bands, and because there's so many examples in some bands that they changed their style because people just wanna develop their style or just check out some new directions, and some bands are doing it well, and some bands not that well.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can get kind of bored with your same old stuff because, you know, in a way, like metal bands, they change a bit, but we don't really reinvent the wheel, or sometimes people do, but it can be unsuccessful or not that great. So I think it makes sense to have maybe other sort of outlets for the music, so you can have a different bands, and yeah, I mean, like you're probably not doing like black metal for money, for example. So it's more about like passion for the music and
Capitalistic black metal.
That's black metal.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting how the metal purists will like even criticize black metal band for being too melodic, but in the end that won't top the Billboard charts anyways. Like no matter how melodic you make it, like if someone's scrolling, it's hard to get anywhere. But I think luckily the metalhead community is very supportive of buying still physical products, because that's versions of the albums, because in European countries the metal bands can top the charts, and that doesn't happen anywhere in the world. So like I think how do you deal with that do you follow a lot this kind of demographics or anything like that, or is it also like go with the flow?
Yeah, I think it's not our job to follow demographic or you can, of course, you can kind of access this sort of data now, and I think record companies are doing that, and they will like doing this sort of market investigation of the like demography of your fans and stuff like that. But what can you like? You can get that information, but like then what? Like at least I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself, but I'm not really interested in this sort of stuff. Marketing, it's something for the record company, and then it's not us. We focus on music, and
yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with music. Like you are checking like, we have a lot of Danish fans from Denmark, so now we have to write some Denmark influenced metal. Why? Just do your own thing and see who follows, and if people follow, it's cool. If nobody follows, I guess we are still doing our music. Because this is a disease and a curse.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you next about the setlist, because how you have a long back catalog, but also like 3 fresh releases that haven't had the chance to be played live so much. So was it hard to kind of decide what you're gonna play, like, because even now it's a longer set, but then in festivals it's even more difficult to put everything into an hour or something?
Yeah. Of course it's difficult but we have 9 albums and EP, and then if you have in festival you are playing 45 minutes, it's a tough job if you are thinking too much, like to please fans of every album, but somehow also that goes via Insomnium logic. We don't plan or think too much, and there's always like these classic songs like While We Sleep and these kind of Heart Like a Grave that we are pretty much playing always, and then just some new videos, and somehow there's some formula between the lines.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you kind of like try to emphasize the newer release, so you play songs from the new album now, so it's just logical, and we have one from Arch and Moon, and then also a few older songs as well. So and few ones we haven't played for a while, but it's also like if you would want to practice completely new set list, we would need to practice some of the songs we haven't played for a long time or even ever. So that would require a bit more work, I think, but could be done.
Well, for example, in 70,000 Tons of Metal, as you have to play 2 shows on that boat, we played like 2 shows, completely different songs. So
that's
we
cool.
kind of rehearsed pretty much songs for those set lists, and I really get that it should be taught more, because I'm a huge music nerd myself, and I like to go seeing gigs of my favorite bands, and sometimes it bothers me if my old favorites are playing just like new stuff, and people want to hear the old stuff, but then when it's up for yourself, then you don't think about that way.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. Surprisingly, you don't necessarily think about that too much. You also think, okay, it's also like some of the songs work better live than some others, and when you kind of get the groove, like you enjoy playing those, and then like if you have like 7 songs you need to play, you only have like, you can switch maybe few, and
I think probably the most difficult set for us to do was like back in the day when we released Winter's Gate, which was a 40-minute song, and then we were supporting Epica in a like big ass US tour, and our playing time was 35 minutes. So we had to kind of cut Winter's Gate, so we played like the beginning and the ending, and then some 2 classics in the middle, old classics. So that was a stupid set list.
Yeah, but guys, I think I have my questions covered now. Just don't know if you wanted to send a message to the followers of Chaoszine and the followers of Insomnium, of course, like invite people to your next shows and stuff.
Thank you, followers. Keep on following.
Keep on supporting, buying albums, and then come to see our shows.